Hi, everyone. Welcome to this training, which is part of the Gateway to Fair Trade Fashion project. Today, we have Hisham El Gazzar sharing us a lot of important information about export logistics. Briefly, I will leave it to Isabella to have another introduction. But for the time being, on my side, I'm Zerrin. I'm projects coordinator at WFTO Global Office. And I'm also coordinating Gateway to Fair Trade Fashion project. I just want to briefly remind you all that the meeting is being recorded for the purpose of this project, which will be afterwards shared on our website publicly, as well as on the Members Hub in a few days, hopefully. And if you would like to have captions in your own language, it is possible if you go on the bottom right of your screen where you have the three dots that says more. There you can actually choose to have captions or the transcripts in your preferred language. So I will leave it to Isabella and Hisham to start today's session.
Hello all, thank you very much for attending this beautiful webinar. Thank you, Zerin, for this warm introduction. As Zerin said, this training is part of Gateway to Fair Trade Fashion project, which is a global initiative led by the World Fair Trade Organization, sponsored by the Amani Foundation, supported by Sustainable Journey and WFTO Europe as well as partners. The goal of this project is to bring together fair trade enterprises, ethical fashion brands, and consumers to reshape the fashion industry around fairness, transparency, and sustainability. This webinar is part of a series of capacity building efforts in that area. As much as this is, of course, geared towards the people working in the fashion business, this webinar is very, very important to anyone who is looking into exports. So without further ado, I would like to leave the stage to my dear friend, Hisham El Gazzar, who is an expert for many, many, many years. He will introduce himself to you, but you may also know him as the chair of WFTO Africa and Middle East. Welcome, Hisham, and thank you for giving us your time and your know-how.
Thank you, Isabella. Thank you, Zarin. And hi, everyone. My name is Hisham El Gazzar. I'm the founder and CEO of YADAWEE. YADAWEE is an Egyptian company. We export Egyptian handicrafts since 2002. And I am also, as Isabella mentioned, the chairman of WFTO Africa and Middle East region. And I have been working as an export consultant for the last 18 years, working with different international organizations such as ITC in Geneva, UN organizations, and so on. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I hope that I'll be able, in such a short period of time, to be able to deliver as much information about export logistics as possible. Please feel free to write your questions if you have any during the presentation, and I will make sure at the end of the presentation to go through the chat box and answer all your questions. Also, the PDF version of this presentation will be shared with you after the presentation. So let's start by just a second. Okay. Let's start by export readiness. So before you decide to export, I'm not sure if you are already exporting or not, if you have experience with exports or not, but we will be covering during this presentation the basics of exports. And if you are not exporting yet, how to take the decision of starting to export your products. And before taking such a big decision, because exporting is a huge decision regarding your company, and it's a big commitment. It's not a decision to be taken lightly, and therefore you need to ask yourself some questions to make sure that you are really ready as people in the company, as products and so on, to start this journey of exporting your products. So the first thing you need to check is your products and to see if your quality is good enough for export markets. Uh, is it complying with the different international standards, and the scalability of your products, of your production? Are you able to scale your production to cover your local market plus the international markets that you intend to target or not? Second point that you need to check is people. If you have a skilled team with experience about exports, and if they have the skill of communication with international buyers. Third point is the process. Do you have reliable production and logistics? So, uh, can you produce uh, the right products with the right quality on time to export when you have an order or not? And will you be able to deal with logistic companies to send your products abroad? And last but not least, pricing. Do you understand how to do costing and pricing correctly for the international market? Do you understand how the different stakeholders and different players in the chain that you will be dealing with, do you know how much profit margin they're looking to get? So all these type of informations are very important for you to understand. And then you have to assess the whole thing. So, do you have a unique product? Uh, and will you be able to work on customized products if needed? Will you be able to do product development? And you have a team to work with for doing product development, and you understand how the cycle of uh, coming up with an idea or doing a market research to understand what the new market needs, and then work with designers on having an idea about what product you can deliver to this market, and then start to work on a prototype, first prototype, and then do the modification until you reach to the final prototype, and then do the costing and pricing, and do the packaging, and do the branding, and everything related to that. So it's a whole cycle that you need to understand in order to start to tackle the international markets. Also, you need to understand who is your buyer. So you need to define your ideal buyer. Is it concept stores, boutique stores with capsule collections, or are you targeting big department stores or importers and with several retail shops in their chain who are asking for bigger quantities? So these are two different completely ball games, and you need to understand which one you will be targeting. Also, you need to understand how to do market research and how to understand the market that you are going to try to penetrate. There are lots of tools out there. Some of them are for free, some of them are not. So you need to try to find more information using these tools. One of the most important tools that I highly suggest is the ITC trade map. And ITC is the International Trade Center in Geneva, and they have this website with trade map and all the information about trading around the world. And also from the trade maps, you will find links to their other websites. They have several websites with lots of information, and it's completely for free. Also, the other website that I highly recommend is the CBI website. It's cbi.eu, and they have lots of free market information, and it's divided by sector, and you will have lots of free reports that are very, very important to read if you are targeting the European market. Also, you need to evaluate your competitors and to understand uh, where your position is in comparison to your competitors. And also, you need to understand the different cultures in the target markets that you are reaching out to, and how far the differences between your culture and their culture, whether it's regarding to colors used, whether it's regarding to the sizes, whether regarding to how to do business with them, lead times, payment terms, all these things you need to gather information about it. Of course, now we cannot disregard the importance of AI tools like ChatGPT and all these other AI tools available out there. And I just ask you to be a bit careful with these tools and to double check the information that you're getting from them, because sometimes the information provided are not very accurate. So just double check the information. But of course, these are very important tools now that can easily provide you with very important market information for free. And then we need to talk about compliance and documentation essentials. So, for example, core export documents, and I will be showing you some examples of these documents like commercial invoice, packing list, certificate of origin, export license if required, and shipping labels. We will discuss this later on. And also regulatory compliance like labeling and HS codes, quality standards, sustainability certifications. All these are very important points for you to understand before diving into the export world. Uh, Again, pricing and how to do costing and pricing for your products, and to understand the Incoterms. I will be later on explaining Incoterms because Incoterms is like uh, the language for exporting. So if you want to export, you need to understand the language used by the exporters and the importers, which is the Incoterms, and I will be explaining this later. So it's very important to understand these terms. You don't need to know them by heart. There are now lots of uh, documents that are available online, and also there is a mobile application that you can have on your mobile. So just in case you forget a certain term, or you are confused between the two terms, you can easily open your mobile application and just go through them quickly and understand which one to use. So I will be also explaining this later in this presentation. And then building export capacity. So internal and external capacities. So for the internal capacity, I mean about your team in the company, whether they're the export team, production team, also the accountant who will be doing your costing and pricing. Regarding the external capacities, like having good connections with freight forwarders, and not only good connections, but also reliable connections, because these are very important for your success in the export world. Also, having good connections with the export councils. Export councils usually in your countries, they will give you support. They will provide you with market information. They will provide you with lots of information related to how to export the products that you are producing. And also, many of these export councils, they have subsidies, or they can provide subsidies for trade fairs and trade missions. So it's very important to have good connections with export councils in your country. And last but not least, also have strong relationship with financial partners like your bank, for example. Sometimes when you are dealing with big department stores or big companies, they will not pay any upfront or advance payments, and their payment terms are usually 60 or 90 days. So of course, with big orders, this could be a huge burden on your financials, especially if you are a small company. And that's when the role of the bank is very important. You can reach out to them, and if you have a confirmed order, you can give them all the documents proving these confirmed orders, and the bank can give you advance payments, of course, against a small fee or a commission. But this can save you a lot and help you a lot with your cash flow in your company. So the key takeaways is that you have to be ready before you start thinking about export. You have to know your product and your market. You have to understand the documents that you need to use in order to be able to export your products, to price your products correctly. And when I say price correctly, this doesn't mean price your products cheap, but it's not about how cheap you are, but it's about how your price is relatively accepted from your buyers according to the quality and the added value that you are giving to them. And also build strong partnerships with the different stakeholders in your value chain. Let's take an export quiz quickly. And this quiz is about how ready you are. So we will be talking about your understanding of the clear product documentation and the reliable production timelines, and your knowledge of cost and pricing, effective communication, and proper packaging and labeling. So if you please can take note, I will be asking you some questions, and just write the answer in a piece of paper in front of you, and then at the end we can calculate together what is your score and see if you are really ready to export or not. So the first question is, do you have the surplus production capacity or available specialists to meet increased demand for your products? Just write yes or no for the first question. Second question is, do you have the financing required to adapt your product or products to suit your target or your target market and promote it? Just write A, B, or C. So A is financing is in place. B, financing is being arranged. And C, no financing available. If you are done with this slide, we'll move to the next questions. So question number 3, are you committed to sustaining your export effort? Yes or no? And number 4, does your company have a good track record of meeting deadlines? Yes or no? Even if you are not exporting, are you meeting deadlines in your local market? Yes or no? Question 5, do you have international business experience? Yes or no? And 6, does your product or products have a distinct competitive advantage like quality, price, uniqueness, innovation over your competition in your target market? Yes or no? Question 7, have you adapted your packaging, whether labeling and or promotional materials, for your target market? Again, it's a yes or no question. Question 8, do you have the capacity and resources to continuously exhibit at trade fairs in your target market or region? Yes or no? Nine, do you have a free onboard FOB or cost insurance and freight CIF price list for your products? If you don't understand these Incoterms, so just say no. If you understand them or you have the price list, say yes. 10, have you undertaken any foreign market research? So just mention A, B, or C. A, you have completed primary and secondary market research, including a visit to the target market. B, completed some primary and secondary market research. Or C, no research at all. 11, have you checked if your product or products comply with international specs and regulations and that you can export your product or products to your target markets? Again, just write A, B, or C. A, I am aware of all local and international specs and regulations related to my product or products. B, I am aware of local specs and regulations only. Or C, what are specs and regulations? So you don't have any clue about specs and regulations. 12, so these are about promotional efforts. So 12 is your promotional material available in the language of your target markets. So I'm talking here about business cards, brochures, websites. So do you have them, for example, in German, if you are targeting Germany, or do you have them in Japanese if you're targeting Japan, something like that? So it's again yes or no. And 13, have you started marketing your product or products in your target market? Or maybe even visited or exhibited at an international trade fair? Yes or no? Last two questions. 14, have you started communicating with an importer or wholesaler or retailer to export your product or products? Again, yes or no question. And finally, have you hired a freight forwarder or customs broker? Yes or no? So from these 15 questions, kindly give yourself 1 point if you have selected A as an answer or if you have chosen yes as an answer. And then please calculate all your A's and yeses. And if you have between 11 to 15 A's or yeses, then congratulations, you really understand what you are doing and you are ready to export your products. If you are something between 7 to 10, that's not bad, but you need to work more on getting ready to export your products. And then if you have less than 7, then I highly recommend not to start exporting now and maybe take some courses or workshops about exports and try to understand all the export requirement and logistics and try to also do market research about the international market or markets that you intend to target before you start exporting. Quickly, let me tell you about the history of export. So it all started with the trading between different countries and started by sending them using animals like camels here, for example, in this photo. And with time, they started using the sea and shipping products using boats from one place to the other. And then with time, people started to understand that the old traditional way of exporting is not really working because products were being stolen or lost, damaged, accidents happened. So the international trade was not always going as well as expected. And therefore, the world started to recognize that we need some sort of a system to organize the import-export procedures. And that's when they started to think about Incoterms. So what is an Incoterm? Maybe you have heard this a lot. And Incoterm is the terms of shipment and delivery, as well as the transfer of risk between the buyer and seller. So these are terms that were created by the International Chamber of Commerce, ICC, and are a registered trademark of the ICC. Usually, Incoterms are reviewed every 10 years to keep pace with the ever-changing world of international trade. And the latest edition is the Incoterms 2020. Here we can see a graph of that is showing how the Incoterms developed through the years. We started having the Incoterms, or the ICC conducted the first, system of having special terms and for export and imports and so on in 1923, and then it was revisited in 1928 and 1936 and 1953. So as you see, it was not a systematic change. So whenever they felt they need to do some changes, they went and did it. And then in 1967, 1976, 1980, and then starting 1980, it started to become like there is a revision every 10 years. So 1990, 2000, 2010, and then 2020, the final one. And in 2020, now, as I mentioned earlier, we have a mobile application that you can download to your mobile, and it simplifies all the Incoterms that are being used now in the trade. So I highly recommend that you download this application because it's very useful and very simple to use. So what are Incoterms 2020? Incoterms means, so the IN in the beginning means international, and then the CO means commercial, and then terms. So international commercial terms, and in short, it's known for Incoterms. Incoterm is used in the contract of sale. So it's not a contract of sale itself, but the term is used in the contract of sale between the seller and buyer. And it refers to the party that is responsible for certain aspects of the transition between seller and the buyer. So it's mainly used to explain certain points, and we will discuss this now. These are rules for interpreting trade terms and have some variances to customs or use of similar terms. So again, when we talk about Incoterms, we use the word seller and buyer. We don't use exporter and importer. Before explaining the Incoterms, I just want to explain this graph because it will help us a lot in understanding the different Incoterms. So please look at this graph and imagine that you have a mirror that we have placed it in the middle of this graph. So the upper half, or let's say the lower half, is like an image of the upper half. So the upper half is in what is happening in the country of export. And the lower half is what is happening in the country of import. So let's explain it. So first thing, we start with the top left, where we have our factory or our workshop, and we produce the products, and the products are being packed and then being loaded on a truck or whatever, and then it's being transported to the airport or seaport, where we do the customs clearance for export, and then we have the handling, outbound handling. The products are put inside the airplane or on board of the vessel or ship. And then we have the insurance procedure. If we need to insure the products, it's not a mandatory, but we advise to do insurance if you have big shipment or expensive products that can be breakable or you just need to make sure that you don't lose money if anything happens to your shipment. And then you have the inbound handling in the other country, in the receiving country or the country of importing. So the airplane arrive or the vessel arrives, and then we take the products from the method of shipping, do the customs clearance, and then the products are being loaded on a truck for final transportation to the importer, maybe to his warehouse or to his store, where they're being unloaded for to being sold. So these are the main steps of exporting and importing. Try to keep this figure in your mind while we are discussing the Incoterms, because this will help you a lot. So again, the two key players are the seller and the buyer. And the Incoterms will help in filling a purchase order or sales contract or a purchase contract. It will help in deciding obligations, who does what as a buyer and as a seller. And when this is clear, just by mentioning an Incoterm, it automatically, both the buyer and the seller, they understand their obligations. So this is the beauty of Incoterm. If you understand what an Incoterm mean, automatically, without needing to explain lots of things, a buyer and the seller will understand what they're talking about. And Incoterms will help in identifying the party responsible for the cost towards carriage, transportation, insurance, packing, and labeling, and also about how and when does the risk transfers from the seller to the buyer. So these are mostly the points that Incoterms are covering. So what does the Incoterms rules do? So first of all, Incoterms rules explain a set of 11 trade terms. So now in 2020, the number of Incoterms are 11. They used to be 13 before, but now with the last version, it's only 11. And it tells us about the costs. So which party is responsible for various costs, such as transport, packaging, loading, unloading, and others, and obligation, who does what between the buyer and seller, and the risk, where and when the seller delivered the goods. What the Incoterms doesn't do is They are not a contract of sale at all by themselves. So again, they're part of the contract of sale, but they're not themselves a contract of sale. They don't mention anything about specifications of the goods sold. They don't mention the time, place, method, or currency of payment. They don't mention anything about remedies which can be sought in case of breach of contract. They don't mention anything about consequences of delay and any other breaches in the performance of contractual obligation. They don't mention anything about effects of sanctions or imposition of tariffs or export or import prohibitions or force majeure or hardship or intellectual property rights or method, venue, or law in case of dispute resolution. Uh, and they also don't mention anything about deal with transfer of property, title, ownership of the goods sold. So we have to keep in mind that all these points are not covered by Incoterms. Again, I'm just emphasizing on this that Incoterms rules are not themselves a contract of sale. They only become part of the contract when they're incorporated into a contract. Okay, now we have the 11 Incoterms in front of us. And to make it easy for you, we divide them into 4 groups. So the first group, which is the group E, which starts with, it has only one Incoterm, which is X work. And then we have group F with 3 Incoterms, FCA, FAS, and FOB. I will explain everything later. And then we have group C, which is CPT, CIP, CFR, and CIF. And finally, group D, with DAP, DPU, and DDP. So if you want to understand them, just think as group E is opposite of group D, and group F is the opposite of group C. What does this mean? What does this mean? Is that group E is X work means you as an exporter or a seller in this case, you as a seller, you have your products at your factory or workshop, and the buyer is in charge of doing everything. The buyer will come to your factory or workshop, take the products from there, load them on a truck, and do and pay for everything. You are not taking any risks at all. So that's X work. The opposite of X work is the group D with the 3 different cases. But in general, group D is the opposite. You as a seller, you have to do everything until you deliver the products to your buyer. And then group F and group C are some things in between. So group F are the Incoterms that are related to what is happening in your country as a seller. So everything that is happening in your country up to the port of your country. Group C is the opposite. This is what is happening until the port, seaport or airport of the buyer country. Okay, let's see another slide to try to understand them in a better way. Let me explain here. Yeah, let's take them one by one here. And this is what you will find on your mobile application if you download it. And I will explain a few ones because we don't have enough time to go through the whole 11 Incoterms, but I will just explain how to read these slides when you open your mobile application. So on top, you have the name of the Incoterm. Here we have X work, that's how it's written, and the full word how people say it. And to the right, you have in these boxes the different methods of shipping. So this means X work can be used with trains, airplanes, trucks, and boats or vessels. Whenever we see the color blue, this means it's related to the seller. Whenever we see the color orange or gold, it depends on how you see it on your screen, this means we are talking about the buyer. So blue is a seller and orange is the buyer. So let's take the X work for example. So we have mentioned that Incoterms are all about deciding what are the costs and what are the risks. So here we see that in blue there is the factory and the boxes are in front of the factory and the truck is waiting to take the products until they reach the other side of the buyer. So we see that there is a short arrows for the costs in blue, and the risk is also very short arrow in blue. And the long arrows are in orange. This means that the costs and risks of the seller ends in front of his workshop or factory where the products are in front of his place, not even loaded to the truck. So this means the buyer is the one in charge of loading the goods on the truck and paying for everything and taking the risks also for everything. That's why we have the long arrow for costs and risks in orange. Okay, so I hope this explains everything. And then down we have export formalities and import formalities. So here the export formalities are happening at the country of export and import formalities are happening at the country of import. So let's take maybe one or two other examples. One of the most important Incoterm that we have to know is FOB, which is free on board. So let's again apply the same rules that I have just explained. So here we have FOB and then it's written free on board. So to explain the abbreviation, and only in the box to the right, we have a picture of a boat. So this means FOB can only be used with the boat if you're shipping something with a boat or a vessel. But I have to admit that in the real world, people are using free on board with everything. So even if you are shipping with an airplane, you will find many people are using FOB also. If you are doing it correctly using the Incoterms, then it's wrong. But that's how it's being happening in the real world. So let me explain to you FOB, and then I will show you what is the other term that we can use exactly like FOB, but for shipping with airplanes or other method of shipping. So here with FOB, you find the two arrows for costs and risks are a bit longer. So it ends, both of them, they end when the goods are in or on top of the vessel or the ship. And then the costs and risks are transferred to the buyer once the goods are on the vessel. So this means here that the seller is going to pay for everything in his country until the goods are in the vessel, and he's going to take all the risks until the goods are in the vessel. And then it's the costs, the vessel itself we will see that the color of the vessel itself is in orange. This means that the cost of shipping is going to be paid by the buyer, and he's going to take all the risks also. And that's why this Incoterm is being used when we do the price list, when we go to trade fairs and we do our export price list. Usually, sellers and buyers are so the seller is doing the price list in FOB, and also the buyers are asking for FOB price lists. Why? Because this is what the international community have agreed on, that this is the best scenario, that sellers will give their prices, including all the expenses for shipping the goods to the seaport. And then, because I don't know as a seller where my buyer is coming from which country, so I don't know how much the shipping itself is going to cost. That's why we just stop here, and then the cost of shipping itself, the shipping the products itself, is paid by the buyer, depending on where in the world he's living, or he's going to import the products to. So this is FOB. Let me try to find you the other relevant Incoterm for flight. This is the one. So this is free carrier. So this is the same exact one as FOB, but for other modes of transportation. So we have here, if you look at the boxes on top, you have the train, you have the airline, you have the truck, and you have the ship. But then you will ask me, but if we here have a ship, and with FOB we have a ship, why don't we use the free carrier? And because this one has them all. But let me tell you that if you are only shipping through with using a ship, then it has to be FOB. When do I use the free carrier? If I'm using any other modes of transportation, or if I'm using more than one method of transportation that includes a ship, this means I have to use the free carrier Incoterm. But if I'm only using a vessel or a ship, then I will have to use the FOB. I hope I have managed to explain to you how to read this. You can check all the other explanation for the other 11 Incoterms in the presentation when we will send it to you. And also here you will find the slide with all the Incoterms being listed on top, and to the side all the tasks that has to be done. And then in the chart it tells you this task with a certain Incoterm, who is in charge of it. Is it going to be the buyer or a seller? You just have to cross the reference between the left column and the top columns in order to find the necessary box, and then you will find written in the box whether it's the buyer or seller who is in charge of doing this task with this certain Incoterm. Again, here, this is another explanation of the Incoterms, and here it explains the transfer of risk from the seller to the buyer when it's happening according to each Incoterm. So all these are different ways of explaining the Incoterms in different ways, just for you to understand. So whenever you don't understand anything, or you are being confused between one Incoterm and the other, just go back to these slides and read the explanation of each Incoterm, and I'm sure it's very easy and it's very simple. You will understand which Incoterm to use. Now we go to the export documents. So the export documents that are usually being used are the following. Of course, it depends from one shipment to the other. Sometimes there are more documents needed, but what I'm going to mention here are the basics or documents that are needed to do the export procedures or finalize the export procedures. So first of all, we start by the pro forma invoice. And I'm going to explain them later. I'm going to show you some templates for each one of them. But we have the pro forma invoice, and then we have the commercial invoice, packing list, certificate of origin, insurance if needed, and shipping declaration. And of course, if you are shipping through air, you will need airway bill. And if you are shipping by sea, you will need the bill of lading. And as I mentioned, I will explain each one later on. So here, this is the pro forma invoice. Of course, this is just a template. You will find lots of different templates on the internet if you want to use any one of them. But you have to understand the purpose of the pro forma invoice. So the purpose of the pro forma invoice, it's like a prior agreement between the seller and the buyer on the order. It's not confirmed. Changes can happen. So this is all accepted when you issue a pro forma invoice. This is just saying that the seller and the buyer have agreed on these certain items with these certain prices. And usually the pro forma invoice is very important for the buyer because they have to give it to their bank in order to do a bank transfer to you if they want to send you an advance payment. So in order to send you an advance payment, usually the buyers will ask for a pro forma invoice as a proof for their bank for the amount that they're going to transfer to you. And then we have the commercial invoice. So the pro forma invoice is being sent at the beginning of the order when you are still waiting for an advance payment and and this is considered like a confirmation between you and the buyer, and the buyer will send you a purchase order to confirm their order. Uh, and then you will produce the order, and when everything is ready for shipping, you will issue the commercial invoice, which is the final situation of the products being produced that have been produced for the products that are going to be shipped. So this has to be very accurate to the actual situation of the products that are going to be shipped. It's not accepted at all to have wrong information in a commercial invoice because this can cause problems for you as an exporter in your own country or problems for the importer in their own country. So commercial invoice has to be exactly the same as the products being shipped. And then with the commercial invoice, you are going to issue a packing list. Packing list is very important because this is being used mainly by, of course, by the buyer when they receive the goods in order to understand each carton has inside which products. So in order to find the products easily. But the most important, the importance of the packing list is that is for customs, whether in your country as a seller or in the buyer's country. And customs, they use the commercial invoice to check the prices, and they use the packing list to check that the goods are correctly in the correct boxes. If for any reason the customs they open the boxes and they find discrepancies between what is written and what is real, this can cause a huge problem, and this can cause that the customs decide to open all the boxes, all the shipments. This can cause damages, this can cause items to be lost, and I don't advise at all to reach this point. So in order to avoid this point, you have to make sure that your commercial invoice and packing list is really accurate and exactly as you have packed your products. And then we come to the certificate of origin. The importance of certificate of origins is that usually we have bilateral agreements between the country of the seller and the country of the buyer. And in order to prove the origin of a certain product, uh, we need this certificate of origin that is usually issued by the government or the authorities of the exporting country to say that this product has been produced in their country. And with this piece of paper, the buyer will be able to uh, ask for lower customs according to the agreement between the two countries, but usually this piece of paper will save the buyer a huge amount of money with customs. Sometimes they depends on the agreements, but sometimes it can be 0%. They can just do the customs clearance without paying any customs at all. So that's why this piece of paper is very important for buyers, and the sellers, they have to issue this document accordance to the specifics, has to be stamped in certain way and has to be filled with all the right information in a certain way. So please make sure that when you issue, not you, but when you proceed with issuing the certificate of origin, usually it's your custom broker is the one who will be doing this for you. Uh, so just make sure that they did it in the correct way and it has all the correct information. Of course, there are different types of certificate of origins. The one in front of us is Euro 1. This is specifically for European countries when they're importing products from different countries. We have another one that is called Form A. Usually, this is when buyers are importing products to the US market. Of course, we have different certificate of origins, but these are the two main ones that are famous. And as you see from the photos, they're almost the same with the type of information and stamps and so on. And then this is the insurance certificate. Usually, it's an agreement between the seller and the buyer. If one of them has to do insurance to insure on the products, maybe both of you will decide you don't need to insure, or maybe sometimes some buyers, they have a yearly insurance account with a company in their country, so they will tell you don't do any insurance. If all our products, all our shipments are covered from our side, so don't do it. Then it's good for you as a seller, you will save some money. And then maybe a buyer will demand that you will insure, or maybe it's you who will decide that you want to do insurance just to be in the safe side and not to worry about any damages that might happen for your products or losses or anything like that. So this is extra. It's not mandatory, but again, it depends on the deal between the seller and the buyer. And then you have the shipping declaration. So this is usually before sending your products to the airport or seaport. You send a shipping declaration to your shipping agent or the company that you are dealing with for shipping and logistics, just giving them information about what products you want to ship, where do you want to ship it, just simple information. Using this shipping declaration, your customs broker will start to proceed with making reservation with the uh, air company that they're going to use, or maybe the containers company that they're going to use in order to ship the products. So they need this shipping declaration from you as a seller to start the process of export. And then again, depends on how you are going to ship. If you're going to ship by air, this is the airway bill. You can consider it like when you are traveling and this is your flight ticket. So you can say that this is the flight ticket for your products. So again, it has all the information, who is the airline that you are using, from which airport to which airport, how many kilograms, the volume, the dimensions, what type of products. All these information are mentioned on the airway bill. And exactly the same thing, but for C, what we call bill of lading. So it's exactly as the airway bill, but it's for the sea or containers company. So again, all the information about the company that you are using, the from which seaport to which seaport, the information about the container that the products are being placed inside, how many cartons, dimensions, the CBM, cubic by meter here, that's CBM, and all these information related to shipping by sea. And then we have, just for your information here, we have the different types of containers. Of course, the most important ones for us are the standard containers. We have the 20 feet and 40 feet square meter standard containers. These are the most used ones for our type of products. But of course, we have other different containers depending on the type of products we are shipping. So maybe if we are shipping big machines, maybe we will use the flat tracks or the platforms containers. If we are shipping food or things that can be damaged by uh, by heat or whatever, maybe we can use the insulated and refrigerated containers and so on. So, but usually the most used containers are the standard containers. Here are the specifications for your knowledge about the difference between the 20 feet and 40 feet. And it's good to know these dimensions if you are going to fill in a full container, and you need to understand the capacity of the container and how many boxes of your products you can fit inside a 20 feet container or a 40 feet container. This is something that is a bit tricky. It needs lots of experience. So I highly recommend that if you don't have experience with stuffing your container and you have a big order to your client, I highly recommend that you seek assistance of your customs broker or the freight logistic company that you're dealing with to assist you with. If you give them the dimensions and weight of your boxes, they will be able to calculate it for you and tell you how to put the boxes inside the container in a way that to fit as much as possible, and at the same time to protect the products not to be damaged during the transportation and logistics. Also, we sometimes use pallets to put the boxes on top of the pallets. That's it's not necessarily, but it's useful when you have products that could be broken easily, and you want to put them on a pallet, so a forklift can come and move the whole shipment using the pallet. So it's safer and it's easier to move instead of handling one box at a time. Sometimes people prefer to use pallets, but again, you have to understand the different types of pallets, and you have to understand that there are specifications for using pallets, especially if you are using wood. They have to be certified wood in order to enter the most of the countries like Europe and the States. So they have to be certified wood. So please make sure what type of pallets you are using before going on and shipping your products. And then there are different, again, as I told you, how you stuff your and put your products and pallets in the container. There are different ways. And again, this is a huge experience. And if you don't have this experience, please seek assistance of a logistic expert to help you to explain to you how to put correctly the products in the container. Because if you don't, this is what ends up with your shipment. These are real photos from real cases that happened due to not putting products in the right way inside the container. And people, when they open the container, they find the goods damaged because due to the transportation from the truck to the vessel, and then from the vessel to the truck, and until they reach the buyer and the warehouse or whatever, lots of movement for the container, and this can happen easily. So this can be prevented if you know how to do the proper handling and stacking of your products. Then we have the labeling and marking. So again, there are standard things that you need to put on the box, the master carton box, of course. There are minimum marking, but also sometimes buyers have specific requests that, so you have to discuss with your buyers about what exactly they need to be written on the boxes. But usually you have your logo on the box or your name, country of origin. You have handling markings, and I will explain them later, or cautionary markings too. And then you have the receiver name with maybe logo or address, order number, number of packages, the size, the weight. All these are important information to write on the boxes. You can print them. You can print on a sticker or a piece of paper, and stick it on the box. There is no rule about how you do it, but just try to do it in a professional way. Then we have the different marking. So for example, we have the fragile mark, the handle with care, keep dry, protect from heat, this side up, don't use hooks. If you use slings, so you put them in this part. Lift cart here, do not stack, so don't put many cartons on top of each other. Do not roll, do not tumble for photos, for perishable items, keep frozen, do not freeze, clamp here, center of gravity, live animals. So these are all international marking that you have to know and use according to your products. Then we have the air freight versus ocean freight. So when to ship air versus when to ship with the ocean freight. So of course, air freight is a bit more expensive, but it's quick. It's also there are limit to the volumes that you can put inside an airplane. Especially also depends on the model of the aircraft. So sometimes you have to, the shipping company that you are dealing with will ask you for the dimensions of the boxes, because sometimes the flights that are operating from one country to the other, the opening of the door for the airplane, for the part where they ship the goods, it's not that big. So sometimes they will tell you, we are sorry, we cannot accept big boxes. Or the maximum dimensions of the boxes that can be shipped inside this certain aircraft is these certain dimensions. So you have to be aware of that. whether with ocean freight, you don't have this problem. So these are big containers. As I said, you have the 20 feet container, you have the 40 feet container. It's not necessarily that you take the full container for yourself. We have something what we call LCL, which is less container load. So this means you take only a part of a container, that this container is shared with many exporters, and you only pay for the part that you are taking. Of course, this is much cheaper, and this is the cheapest way to ship if you are shipping a big shipment. But sometimes it depends on the country, of course. It takes time for a vessel to reach its destination. So again, it depends from which country you are shipping to which country, but it's sometimes it could be from 5, 6, 7 days up to 1 month and 2 months in the sea. So again, you have to plan this according to the needs and requirements of your buyer, and decide together how much the buyer is willing to pay, and then calculate the shipment if you're going to send the same shipment with air, and if you're going to versus sending it with sea by sea, and see which one is cheaper and which one the buyer will prefer. And then let's talk about the HS codes. HS codes are codes, international codes that are given to all the products in the world. Usually they're formed from 6 digits. These are the international 6 digits HS codes. And then additional numbers for if you find 8 digits or 10 digits, usually the extra 2 or extra 4 digits are internal coding system by the country itself. And then it's different from one country to the other. So let's focus on the 6 HS codes that are international codes uh, accepted everywhere and known everywhere as an international system. And these HS codes are important because it helps the customs in both countries, in the country of export and in the country of import, to identify quickly the product and to quickly check using the HS code how much customs the buyer has to pay. So these codes are strongly related to the certificate of origin that I have mentioned earlier, because as I mentioned with the certificate of origin, we need to understand, we need to link it with a bilateral agreement between the two countries. And in order for the customs to check how much the buyer has to pay, they use the HS codes to do that. And the HS codes are divided into the first 2 digits, which is the chapter of the items, and then the heading. It's a subheading, the heading, and then you have the subheading, and then you have the tariff item. So these are the first 2 for the chapter, 2 for the heading, 2 for the subheading, and then for the tariff item, the other 2 for the tariff item. Let's take an example. So, for example, the code 180610. So it's made of all these, the chapter and heading and subheading, and you can have a look at it. You can have a look at it at the HS code system, and it will tell you exactly what code this item is for. So here, for example, this is the example I'm talking about. Here, these are the sections. These are the heading. So you have the textiles and textile particles and section. So this is section 11. Section 12 is for footwear. headgear, umbrellas, and so on. Section 13 is for articles of stone, plaster, cement, and so on. So for example, let's take the textiles. So then you will have the chapter. Chapter 50 is for silk. Chapter 51 is for wool. Chapter 52 is for cotton, and so on. So you will go by the section, choose the section that is related to your products, and then go to the chapter, choose the chapter that is relating to the product that you are exporting, and then go to the heading. So let's say we are exporting cotton, not carded or combed. So it will be 5201 and so on. So I'm happy that I have managed to somehow cover all these points in dedicated time that I've been given to by the organization team. I'm not sure if we have some questions in the chat. Let me check. Oops. Okay, I see some messages. Okay, Isabella's at 14. Of course, if you don't get 14, Isabella, who will get 14? Uh,
Well, I must admit that after so many years of export experience we do have in our small company in Turkey, I learned quite a lot today. There was a lot I wasn't aware of. So thank you,
thank you.
Hisham. This was extremely valuable.
I,
I
I
mean,
just,
I barely know four Inca terms, and I'm using four of them. So having 11 was kind of I mean, even though we knew that they existed, having so many detailed information is good, and it leads the reflection of going and choosing the one which suits our businesses the most and our needs the most, rather than using the ones we're using or using the ones the people are imposing on us. So extremely valuable, even for somebody who is exporting for quite a long time. Thank you so much.
I'm really sorry because trying to explain something that usually takes like from 2 to 3 days in a proper classroom, trying to say it in 1 hour and a half online. So it's a bit challenging, but I hope I have managed to deliver most of the information I have. So thank you, Isabella. Let me go to the chat also again. Hisham, this presentation contains so much information. We need to start exporting. Thank you so much. Would you be able to email it to us later on? Yes, already the team has the PDF presentation, so a PDF format of the presentation. So they will be sharing it with you, and also the recording will be there for you to go back to it if you need anything. And I will happily write now my WhatsApp number. If anyone have any questions, you can please feel free to WhatsApp me. So, and I will be more than happy to answer your questions. Then Zaren, Dean Marais, okay, okay, so Zaren, super, thank you so much. Okay, uh, I don't see
Yeah,
any more messages.
I just
Yeah.
want to quickly add, I wrote in the chat, but as you said, we will be sharing the recording as well as the presentation, and you will be receiving an email from us in a few days with all these details. I will quickly leave a short survey to the chat, which we will also send through the email to the participants and the registrants as well. But it is really important to us to have some feedback to improve further trainings. We have another training session with Hisham tomorrow, but also we will have 4 more training sessions in the next months and throughout 2026, so next year. So it's really important to us to have some feedback as to in order to understand what's good and what can be improved further. So I will just leave it to the chat. If you can provide very quickly some feedback to us, we would be really grateful.
Okay, great. Thank you, Zaren.
I guess if any of the present people have any questions, they can just unmute. We are not very crowded today here, so we have the opportunity to ask for a few more minutes, 5-10 minutes, more questions if there is any in the audience here. Okay, it looks like we have no more questions. So with all your permission, I would like to thank WFTO team for this organization and for providing the project with this platform to share that beautiful know-how and information with all the members. Thank you, Hisham, for being here. Thank you for your time, your energy, and the very, very packed presentation. We will all for sure go back to it and digest it some more. But it is very valuable information. Thank you, Zerrin and the WFTO team, and thank you, Hisham, again.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day.